Captain Lee Dong-woo stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars. The Harmony's Edge was not a big ship, but it was his ship. It had been his home for 3 years as he and his crew explored new worlds far from Earth. Today felt different. Today they would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, we are getting close to their space," said Choi Woo-jin from his seat at the communications panel. The young man was excited. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he checked the signals again. "The aliens are called the Vorthak. They have been sending us messages for 2 days now." Park Ji-min looked up from her engineering station. She was the smartest person Lee Dong-woo had ever met. If something was broken, she could fix it. If something needed to be built, she could build it. "Their technology is very advanced, Captain. Much more advanced than ours. Their ships are huge compared to ours." Dr. Kim So-ra walked onto the bridge carrying her medical scanner. She always worried about new diseases when they met new species. "I have prepared the medical bay in case anyone gets sick. We do not know what alien germs might do to humans." Lee Dong-woo nodded at his crew. These 3 people had been with him since the beginning. They trusted each other completely. "Remember, we are here to make friends. Earth sent us to learn about other species and trade with them. We are not soldiers." The main screen showed a massive ship approaching them. It was 10 times bigger than the Harmony's Edge. The alien ship looked like a giant metal beast with spikes all over it. Weapons could be seen on every surface. This was clearly a warship. "Incoming message, Captain," Choi Woo-jin said. His voice was a little nervous now. "Put it on screen." The face that appeared was like nothing they had ever seen. The alien had green, scaly skin and yellow eyes with no pupils. Sharp teeth filled its mouth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rough. "I am Supreme Commander Thekvar of the Vorthak Empire. You are in our space without permission. Explain why you are here, or we will destroy your tiny ship." Lee Dong-woo stepped forward. He kept his voice calm and friendly. "Greetings, Commander Thekvar. I am Captain Lee Dong-woo of Earth. We come in peace. We want to learn about your people and share knowledge." Thekvar laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Earth? We have never heard of this world. You look weak and soft. Your ship is small and has no real weapons. Why should the mighty Vorthak Empire care about your people?" "Because we believe all intelligent species can help each other," Lee Dong-woo replied. "We have much to offer in trade and friendship." "Trade?" Thekvar's eyes grew brighter. "What could a weak species like yours possibly have that we would want?" Before Lee Dong-woo could answer, an older alien appeared next to Thekvar. This one looked ancient, with white scales and many scars. He whispered something in Thekvar's ear. The Supreme Commander's face changed. He looked surprised and a little worried. "You said you are from Earth? The humans of Terra?" the old alien asked. "Yes, we are humans from Earth. Some old star maps. Call our world Terra," Lee Dong-woo said. The old alien's eyes grew wide. He spoke quickly to Thekvar in their own language. Lee Dong-woo could not understand the words, but he could tell the old alien was upset about something. Thekvar pushed the old alien away. "Silence, Elder Korthak. These cannot be the humans from the old stories. Look at them. They are weak and have only one small ship." "What old stories?" Lee Dong-woo asked. Elder Korthak stepped forward. His voice shook as he spoke. "On worlds across the galaxy, there are stone monuments. They are very old, older than the Vorthak Empire, older than any living species. The words on these stones are written in every language. They all say the same thing. What do they say? Park Ji-min asked. Never threaten a human child of Terra, for their fury knows no bounds, the elder whispered. Never harm those under human protection, for they will turn the stars themselves into weapons. Never make war on humanity, for they fight not just with ships and guns, but with the rage of love itself. Thekvar made an angry noise. Those are just old superstitions, stories told by dead civilizations to scare children. I do not believe in ghost tales, but Lee Dong-woo saw something in the elder's eyes. Fear. Real fear. How old are these monuments? He asked. Some are millions of years old. Some were carved by species that no longer exist, but they all have the same warning about humans from Terra. Enough of this foolishness, Thekvar snapped. I care nothing for old stones and dead languages. You humans will follow our rules while you are in Vorthak space. You will go only where we tell you to go. You will take nothing without our permission. And you will remember that we are your superiors in every way. Lee Dong-woo felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice level. We understand. We only want peaceful contact. Good. You will dock with our ship. We will inspect your vessel and decide if you are worthy to trade with the Vorthak Empire. The communication ended. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Captain, Choi Woo-jin said softly. Did you hear what that elder said? About monuments warning people not to threaten humans? How is that possible? Humans have only been in space for a few hundred years. Park Ji-min was checking her computer. I am scanning their ship. The weapons on it could destroy 100 ships, like ours. If they wanted to attack us, we could not stop them. Kim So-ra sat down heavily in a chair. Those monuments... What if humans have been in space much longer than we think? What if we forgot our own history? Lee Dong-woo looked out at the alien ship again. Something about this felt wrong. The elder's fear had been real. But fear of what? Humans were peaceful explorers, not warriors. They had no great weapons or mighty fleets. Earth's space navy was small and mostly used for protecting trade ships from pirates. Sir, Choi Woo-jin said, I am getting reports from other human ships in this area. The Vorthak have been demanding they leave systems where humans found new planets. They say those worlds belong to the Vorthak Empire now. That is not what we agreed to, Lee Dong-woo said. We found those planets first. By galactic law, we have the right to claim them. The Vorthak do not seem to care about galactic law, Captain. Lee Dong-woo watched as the alien ship moved closer. Its weapons were pointed at them. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. They had come in peace, but the Vorthak only understood strength and fear. As their ship was pulled into the alien vessel's docking bay, Lee Dong-woo made a decision. He would be polite and try to make peace. But if these aliens thought humans were weak and helpless, they were about to learn something very important. Some lessons, he thought as he watched Vorthak's soldiers surround his ship, were written in stone for a reason. 3 months had passed since the first meeting with the Vorthak Empire. Captain Lee Dong-woo had tried to keep the peace, but things were getting worse every day. The aliens were becoming more demanding and aggressive with each passing week. Choi Woo-jin looked up from his communications panel with worry in his eyes. Captain, I am getting emergency signals from the human colonies. The Vorthak are attacking our settlements. Which ones? Lee Dong-woo asked, his stomach dropping. All of them, sir. They started with the mining colony on Kepler 442. Then they hit the research station on Proxima 7, They are saying these worlds belong to the Vorthak Empire now. Park Jimin slammed her hand on her control panel. That is not right. We found those planets first. We followed all the galactic laws for claiming new worlds. The Vorthak have no legal right to take them. Dr. Kim Sora was checking the medical reports coming in from the colonies. Her face was pale. Captain, they are not just taking the planets. They are hurting people. The reports say Vorthak soldiers are attacking anyone who refuses to leave. Lee Dongwu felt anger building in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. Open a channel to Supreme Commander Thekvar. The alien's ugly face appeared on the screen. He was smiling, showing all his sharp teeth. Ah, Captain Lee Dongwu, have you called to surrender your illegal colonies to their rightful owners? Those colonies are legal under galactic law, Lee Dongwu said firmly. We claimed those worlds properly. You have no right to attack them. Thekvar laughed. Rights? The only right that matters is the right of the strong to take from the weak. Your people are weak. We are strong. Therefore, those worlds are ours. Now. What about the Galactic Council? They will not accept this. The Galactic Council is far away and they fear the Vorthak Empire. They will not fight us for a few small human colonies. Thekvar leaned closer to the screen. Your people can leave peacefully, or we will remove them by force. The choice is yours. The communication ended. Lee Dongwu stared at the empty screen for a long moment. Sir, Choi Woo-jin said quietly, there is another message coming in. This one is from New Busan Station. New Busan was one of the largest human settlements in this sector. 50,000 people lived there, including many families with children. It was supposed to be a safe place where human scientists could study new worlds and where families could build new lives. Put it through. Dr. Han Min-soo appeared on screen. He was the chief scientist at New Busan, but right now he looked terrified. Behind him, Lee Dongwu could see people running and hear alarm sirens. Captain Lee, thank God we reached you. The Vorthak fleet is here. 20 warships, maybe more. They are demanding we surrender the station. How long do you have? Lee Dongwu asked. They gave us 1 hour to evacuate. But, Captain, we have families here. Children, sick people in the medical bay who cannot be moved. We cannot evacuate everyone. In 1 hour, even if we had ships to carry them all. Lee Dongwu's hands clenched into fists. We are on our way. Hold on as long as you can. Captain, there is something else. They are not just demanding we leave. They want us to leave everything behind. All our research, all our equipment, even personal belongings. They want us to take only the clothes we are wearing. The screen suddenly shook as something exploded nearby. Dr. Han Min-soo looked over his shoulder and then back at the camera. They have started bombing the outer sections. They are not waiting for the hour to be up. Captain, they are targeting the civilian areas first. The schools, the homes, the hospital. Kim Sora gasped. They are attacking the hospital? There are children there, sick children who cannot fight back. Another explosion rocked the station. This time the screen went fuzzy for a moment before clearing. Captain, Dr. Han Min-soo said, his voice breaking, I can see Vorthak soldiers landing. They are shooting at anyone who tries to run. They just shot at a school transport trying to evacuate children. Lee Dongwu felt something cold and hard settle in his stomach. Doctor, find the strongest room you can and lock yourself in. We are coming. The screen went black. Choi, get me a channel to all human ships in this sector, Lee Dongwu ordered. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Lee Dongwu to all human vessels. New Busan Station is under attack. The Vorthak are targeting civilians, including children. All ships capable of fighting converge on New Busan immediately. All ships not capable of fighting, stay away and prepare to receive refugees. Park Jimin was already working at her station. Captain, I am pushing our engines past safe limits. We will reach New Busan in 4 hours. Make it 3 hours. Sir, that might damage the engines permanently. I do not care about the engines, right now. For the next 3 hours, they received broken communications from New Busan. Each report was worse than the last. The Vorthak were not just attacking the station's defenses. They were deliberately targeting areas where civilians lived and worked. When they finally arrived at New Busan, Lee Dong-woo felt his heart break. The station was in ruins. Whole sections had been blown apart. Bodies floated in space around the wreckage. Some of them were very small bodies. Lieutenant Commander Shin Hai-wan's voice came over the radio. She had arrived an hour before them, with a small rescue fleet. Captain Lee, we have survivors, but not many. How many? Lee Dong-woo asked, though he did not want to hear the answer. About 8,000. Most of them are hurt. The Vorthak soldiers. They did terrible things. Before they left, Dr. Kim So-ra was already preparing the medical bay. Bring the worst cases to us first, especially the children. Over the next few hours, Kim So-ra worked without stopping. The survivors told horrible stories. The Vorthak had not just bombed the station. They had sent soldiers inside to hunt down people who were hiding. They had destroyed the schools while children were still inside. They had blown up the hospital where sick people could not escape. One little girl, maybe 6 years old, was brought to Kim So-ra. She had burns on her arms and legs, but that was not the worst part. The worst part was her eyes. They were empty, like she had seen things no child should ever see. "What is your name, sweetheart?" Kim So-ra asked gently. "Yoon Da-un," the little girl whispered. "Are the bad lizard people gone?" "Yes, they are gone. You are safe now. They hurt my teacher. They hurt my friends. Why did they hurt us? We did not do anything bad." Kim So-ra had no answer for that. She just held the little girl and tried not to cry. Choi Woo-jin was recording everything. The destroyed homes, the ruined schools, the bodies of teachers who had died trying to protect their students. He made sure every detail was captured. "Sir," he said to Lee Dong-woo, "I am sending this to Earth and all human colonies. Everyone needs to see what the Vorthak did here." Lee Dong-woo watched as more survivors were brought aboard, mothers looking for their children, children looking for their parents, old people who had lost everything they had spent their lives building. Then Thekvar's ugly face appeared on their communications screen again. He was still smiling. "Captain Lee Dong-woo, I hope you understand now. This is what happens when weak species try to claim what belongs to the strong. New Busan was just the beginning. Surrender your remaining colonies or we will destroy them all." Lee Dong-woo stared at the alien for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was very quiet and very calm. "Commander Thekvar, you have made a very serious mistake today." "Mistake? The only mistake was yours, thinking you could stand against the Vorthak Empire." "No," Lee Dong-woo said. "Your mistake was harming our children." Something in his voice made Thekvar's smile fade a little. "What did you say?" "You attacked a civilian station. You killed innocent people. You murdered children." Lee Dong-woo's voice was still quiet, but now there was something else in it. Something that made the bridge very still. "You broke the oldest rule in the galaxy." "What rule?" "Never threaten a human." The communication ended. Lee Dong-woo stood looking at the black screen for a long time. Behind him, he could hear the cries of hurt children and the sobs of people who had lost everything. Something was waking up inside humanity, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. And the Vorthak Empire was about to learn why. Ancient civilizations had carved warnings about humans into stone monuments across the galaxy. The video from New Busan reached Earth in less than a day. Choi Woo-jin had sent it on every communication channel humans used. The footage showed everything: the destroyed schools, the bombed hospital, the bodies of children floating in space. Earth. Admiral Kang Tae-hyung was in an emergency meeting with the highest leaders of humanity. The video played on screens around the room. When it finished, the room was completely silent. "How many children?" asked Minister Lee Yu-jin, her voice barely a whisper. "Over 3,000, Admiral Kang replied. "Most of them were students at the station's schools." The Vorthak targeted the educational areas first. An old man at the end of the table spoke up. This was General Nam Gi-tai, who had been retired for 20 years. "I volunteer to return to active duty. General, you are 75 years old." Minister Lee Yu-jin said, "I do not care. They killed our children. I will fight until my last breath." Around the table, other retired officers nodded. Admiral Kang looked at each face and saw the same thing: cold, hard anger. "Minister Lee Yu-jin, I request permission to activate Protocol 7, Admiral Kang said. Everyone in the room went very still. Protocol 7 had not been used in over 200 years. Most people had forgotten it existed. "Are you certain, Admiral?" Minister Lee Yu-jin asked. "Once we activate Protocol 7, there is no going back." They murdered children. They attacked civilians. They think we are weak. Admiral Kang's voice was like ice. "It is time to remind the galaxy who we really are." Minister Lee Yu-jin nodded. Slowly. "Protocol 7 is activated. May God help them all." Across human space, emergency messages went out to every colony, every ship, every human settlement. The message was simple: the children are hurt. Come home. On the mining colony of Titan 5, Oh Young-mi was working in the metal processing plant when the message came through. She was a simple factory worker. But when she heard about New Busan, something changed in her eyes. "Everyone stop working," she announced to her shift. "We are switching to war production. I do not care what the managers say. We are making weapons. Now!" Her workers looked at her like she was crazy. "Young-mi, we do not know how to make weapons. We make construction materials." "Then we learn. Fast." She pulled up the emergency production plans that had just been transmitted from Earth. "Look at these blueprints. Our machines can make these parts. We start now." In the asteroid belt around Jupiter, automated systems that had been sleeping for centuries suddenly woke up. Massive factories hidden inside rocks began to move. Machines that no living human had ever seen started building ships. Bae Subin was only 12 years old, but she organized her entire school to help. While the adults built weapons, the children collected materials, carried supplies, and did whatever they could. Even the youngest children wanted to help. "Why are we doing this?" asked her little brother, who was only 6. "Because bad people hurt other children," Subin said. "And we protect each other. That is what humans do." On distant research stations, scientists stopped their experiments and started working on new projects. Dr. Seo Ji-hoon had been studying alien history for 30 years. Now he was digging through old records, looking for something specific. "I found it," he said to his assistant. The real history of humanity in space. What do you mean, real history? We have been in space much longer than anyone remembers. Look at these records. They are encrypted in code so old that only a few people on Earth know how to read them. The records told an incredible story. Humans had explored the galaxy millions of years ago. They had built an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. But something had happened. Something so terrible that humanity had chosen to forget. They had hidden their weapons, locked away their war machines, and went back to their home world to live in peace. But they had left warnings. Monuments carved in stone on every world they had visited. Warnings in every language they had encountered. The same message over and over. Never threaten a human. Back on the Harmony's edge, Captain Lee Dong-woo was receiving reports that made no sense. Human ships were appearing everywhere, ships that should not exist. Captain, Park Ji-min said, staring at her instruments, I am detecting over 500 human vessels approaching our position, but that is impossible. Earth only has about 50 spaceships total. Check your sensors, Lee Dong-woo said. I have checked them 3 times. The readings are correct. Park Ji-min looked up at him with wide eyes. Sir, some of these ships are huge. Bigger than anything humans have ever built. Choi Woo-jin was monitoring communications. Captain, I am getting messages from ship captains I have never heard of. Ships with names that are not in any Earth registry. What kind of names? The Righteous Fury. The Children's Shield. The Memory of Innocence. Choi Woo-jin paused. Sir, these ships are requesting permission to join our fleet. Join our fleet? We do not have a fleet, we have one small research ship. Not anymore, sir. According to these readings, we now have the largest human military force ever assembled. Kim So-ra was still treating the survivors from New Busan when new ships started arriving. The first one was 3 times bigger than the Harmony's edge. It docked with them carefully, and the captain came aboard. Captain Lim Jae-sung was a man Lee Dong-woo had never seen before. He wore a uniform that looked old but well-maintained. His eyes were hard and cold. Captain Lee Dong-woo, he said, saluting. I am Captain Lim Jae-sung of the battleship Vengeance's Call. I am here to place my ship under your command. I do not understand. Where did your ship come from? I have never heard of the Vengeance's Call. My ship has been waiting in deep space for 200 years, along with many others. We have been sleeping, waiting for the day when humanity might need us again. Sleeping? In stasis pods. We volunteered to be the guardians, the ones who would wake up if someone threatened our people. Captain Lim's face was grim. When the signal came from New Busan, our computers woke us up. More ships kept arriving. Each one was bigger and more advanced than anything humanity was supposed to have. Their captains all told the same story. They had been waiting in hidden places throughout the galaxy, sleeping until they were needed. How many ships are there? Lee Dong-woo asked. 10,000, sir, maybe more. They are still arriving. Park Ji-min was working frantically to upgrade their own ship. Blueprints were pouring in from Earth, designs for weapons that seemed impossibly advanced. Captain, these weapon designs are incredible, but they use principles of physics I do not understand. How did we learn to build things like this? I do not know, Lee Dong-woo said. But right now, I do not care. Can you build them? Yes, sir. The automated systems are already starting construction. But, Captain, these are not defensive weapons. These are designed to destroy entire fleets. On the Vorthak homeworld, intelligence reports were coming in that made no sense. Supreme Commander Thekvar read them over and over, but the numbers could not be right. 10,000 ships? He roared at his intelligence officer. The humans had 50 ships last week. Where did 10,000 ships come from? We do not know, Supreme Commander. They appeared from empty space. Our sensors show they are armed with weapons we have never seen before. Thekvar thought about the old monuments, the warnings carved in stone. For the first time, he felt a cold fear in his chest. In the communication center of his flagship, old recordings were being played. Voices from the past, speaking in dead languages, but they all said the same thing. The humans from Terra were not what they seemed. They were sleeping giants, and anyone who woke them would face terrible consequences. Sir, his communication officer said, we are receiving a message from the human fleet. Put it on screen. Captain Lee Dong-woo appeared, but he looked different now. He was wearing a military uniform instead of his explorer's clothes. Behind him, other human officers stood at attention. Supreme Commander Thekvar, Lee Dong-woo, said, his voice completely calm, you have 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. After that, we will consider you and your entire empire to be enemies of humanity. You cannot threaten the mighty Vorthak Empire with your small fleet. Small fleet? Lee Dong-woo almost smiled, but it was not a nice smile. We have 10,000 ships, Commander, and more are coming. Each one is armed with weapons that can destroy planets. Impossible! Humans are a weak, peaceful species. We are peaceful, Lee Dong-woo agreed. We do not like war. We prefer to explore and learn and build beautiful things. But you hurt our children. His voice grew very quiet. And now you will learn why the galaxy fears us. The communication ended. Thekvar stared at the empty screen, feeling ice in his veins. Somewhere in deep space, more ancient ships were waking up. Ships that had been built for one purpose, to protect humanity's children. The galaxy was about to remember why those stone monuments existed. The storm was coming, and it would wash away everything in its path. The 72 hours passed like a countdown to the end of the world. Supreme Commander Thekvar had refused to surrender, calling the human demands the desperate threats of weaklings. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Fleet Admiral Song. Byung-ho commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled, 10,000 ships of war, each one more advanced than anything the Vorthak had ever seen. He stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Terra's Wrath, watching the enemy positions. On his screens, Admiral, his communications officer reported, all ships are in position. The Vorthak fleet has moved to protect their home system. They have about 2,000 ships. 2,000 ships against our 10,000, Admiral Song said quietly. They still think this is about numbers. Colonel Kim Dae-jung was preparing his ground forces for the assault. His soldiers looked different from normal human troops. They moved faster, hit harder, and felt no fear. Dr. Kim So-ra's medical enhancements had made them into something beyond ordinary humans. Colonel, one of his sergeants asked, what exactly did the doctors do to us? They woke up things that were sleeping in our genes, Kim Dae-jung replied. Abilities that our ancestors had, but we forgot how to use. Now we remember. The sergeant looked at his hands. He had crushed a steel bar earlier without even trying. Sir, I feel like I could fight 100 enemies. You probably could. But remember, we are not here to conquer. We are here to rescue our people and punish those who hurt children. Captain Park Sung-hoon commanded a squadron of stealth ships that the Vorthak could not detect. His vessels moved through space like ghosts, invisible to enemy sensors. They had been destroying Vorthak supply lines for days, and the enemy still did not know how. "Captain," his navigator said, "we have located the Vorthak prison ships, the ones holding our people from the colonies." "How many prisoners?" "About 50,000 humans, sir. They are being held in terrible conditions." Park Sung-hoon's jaw tightened. "Mark those ships as priority targets. We get our people out before we do anything else." Engineer Jong In-ho was deploying automated defense platforms throughout human space. These machines could build themselves, repair themselves, and fight by themselves. Once they were in place, no enemy force would ever threaten human colonies. "Again, the platforms are online," he reported to Admiral Song. "Every human world now has protection that could stop a fleet 10 times larger than what the Vorthak have." "Good. Now our families will be safe while we finish this." The attack began at exactly midnight, Earth time. Admiral Song had chosen that moment because it was when little Yoon Da-eun usually went to sleep. The child from New Busan had become a symbol for all human forces. They were fighting for her and all the other children who had been hurt. The first wave hit 3 Vorthak military bases at the same time. The human ships moved so fast that the enemy barely had time to raise their shields. Weapons that used the power of stars themselves tore through Vorthak defenses like they were made of paper. "Enemy fleet destroyed," reported the tactical officer on the Terra's Wrath. "Time, 3 minutes, 47 seconds. Admiral Song nodded. "Move to the next target." On the ground, Colonel Kim Dae-jung's forces were like nothing the Vorthak had ever faced. They moved through enemy positions so quickly that most Vorthak soldiers never even saw them coming. But the humans were not just faster and stronger. They fought with a fury that terrified the alien warriors. "Sir, the human soldiers are not taking any prisoners," a Vorthak officer reported to his commander. "What do you mean?" "Any Vorthak soldier who was involved in attacking civilians is being killed on sight. They are only sparing those who surrender and were not part of the colony attacks." The Vorthak commander felt cold fear. His own forces were known across the galaxy for their brutality, but these humans fought with something beyond brutality. They fought with righteous anger. Captain Park Sung-hoon's stealth ships struck the prison vessels holding human captives. The rescue operation was planned perfectly. Human forces teleported directly onto the prison ships, eliminated the guards, and evacuated all prisoners in less than 10 minutes. "All our people are safe," Park Sung-hoon reported. "The prison ships are empty, except for Vorthak crew." "Good," Admiral Song replied. "Now destroy them." The prison ships vanished in balls of fire. The message was clear. Anyone who harmed human prisoners would face the same fate. Supreme Commander Thekvar watched his empire crumble from the bridge of his flagship. In 6 hours, the humans had destroyed half of his military forces. His mighty fleet was running away from battles they could not win. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said humans were weak." "Sir, we are receiving reports from our historians," his aide said nervously. "They have been studying the old monuments more carefully." "What do they say?" "The warnings were not just about humans, sir. They were warnings left by humans. For themselves." Thekvar stared at his aide. "What?" "The monuments were built by humans millions of years ago. They were reminders to their own future generations about what they were capable of when threatened. The humans we met, they had forgotten their own history. And now they remember?" "Yes, sir. And according to the records, this is not even their full military power. This is just what they can build quickly when they are angry. On Earth, more ancient systems were coming online. Factories that could build entire fleets in days. Weapons that could crack planets in half. Defense systems that could protect Earth from any threat in the galaxy. But humanity did not want to destroy planets. They wanted justice for their children. The turning point came when human forces reached the Vorthak homeworld. Admiral Song's fleet surrounded the planet. But they did not attack immediately. Instead, they sent a message. "People of the Vorthak Empire," Admiral Song's voice broadcast across every communication channel. "Your leaders ordered the murder of human children. Your soldiers attacked schools and hospitals. Your empire thought humanity was weak." The image changed to show the ruins of New Busan. The destroyed schools, the bombed hospital, the small bodies floating in space. This is what your leaders did. This is why we are here. We do not want to destroy your world or your people. We want the ones responsible for these crimes. Many Vorthak civilians had never seen the footage from New Busan. Their government had hidden it from them. Now they watched in horror as the truth was revealed. On the planet below, riots began. Vorthak civilians demanded that their government surrender the war criminals. They had not known about the attacks on children, and they were horrified by what had been done in their name. Supreme Commander Thekvar's own officers began to turn against him. General Zorthik, his second-in-command, came to his quarters with a squad of soldiers. "Supreme Commander," General Zorthik said, "you are under arrest for war crimes. You cannot arrest me. I am the leader of the Vorthak Empire." "Not anymore. The Council of Elders has voted to remove you from command. You ordered attacks on children. Even we are not that cruel." Thekvar was dragged away in chains. Elder Korthak, the old Vorthak who had warned about humans, became the new leader. His first act was to send a message to Admiral Song. "Admiral Song Byung-ho of Earth," the old alien said, "I am Elder Korthak, new leader of the Vorthak people. I offer our unconditional surrender. Supreme Commander Thekvar and all officers involved in the attacks on human civilians are now your prisoners." "What about compensation for the families of the victims?" Admiral Song asked. "We will pay whatever you demand. We will rebuild every structure that was destroyed. We will care for every orphaned child. We will do whatever it takes to make amends for these terrible crimes." The war was over. The mighty Vorthak Empire had fallen in less than a week. But the real victory was not military. It was the message sent to every species in the galaxy. Captain Lee Dong-woo stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge, watching as Vorthak ships surrendered one by one. His communications officer, Choi Woo-jin, was recording everything. "Sir, we are getting messages from governments across the galaxy. They all want to assure us that they will respect human rights and protect human civilians in their territory." "Good," Lee Dong-woo said. "Maybe now our children can grow up in peace." Dr. Kim So-ra was treating the last of the injured prisoners. When little Yoon Da-un came to see her, the child looked much better now, and her eyes were no longer empty. "Dr. Kim," the little girl said, "my daddy says the bad lizard people will never hurt children again. Is that true?" Kim So-ra knelt down and hugged the child. "Yes, sweetheart. It is true. No one will ever hurt you again." The storm had passed, but its memory would last forever. The galaxy had learned why ancient warnings existed and why some rules should never be broken. Never threaten a human child. The universe itself had learned to respect that law. 6 months after the war ended, the galaxy was a very different place. The Vorthak Empire no longer existed. In its place were dozens of small, peaceful worlds that lived under human protection. The former Supreme Commander Thekvar sat in a prison cell, waiting for his trial. Captain Lee Dong-woo stood in the main conference room of the space station New Harmony. This station had been built where New Busan once stood, but it was bigger and stronger. Representatives from 50 different alien species had come to witness the signing of the new Galactic Peace Treaty. Admiral Kang Tae-hyung read the terms of surrender aloud, his voice carried to every world in the former Vorthak Empire. Supreme. Commander Thekvar and all officers who participated in attacks on human civilians will spend the rest of their lives in prison. The Vorthak people will pay for the rebuilding of all destroyed human colonies. New Busan Station will be rebuilt as a memorial to the victims, and Vorthak workers will help build it. Elder Korthak, now the leader of the former Vorthak worlds, nodded sadly. We accept these terms. We will also build monuments on every world that once belonged to our empire. These monuments will tell the story of what happened here, so that future generations will never forget. In the back of the room, Dr. Seo Ji-hoon stood with a collection of ancient records. He had spent months studying the real history of humanity in space. What he had learned was incredible. "Admiral," Dr. Seo said when the formal ceremony was over, "I need to tell you what I discovered about our past." "What did you find, Doctor?" "Humans have been in space for millions of years. We built the first galactic civilization. We explored every star system, contacted every intelligent species, and brought peace to the galaxy." Admiral Kang frowned. "Then why do we not remember? Why did we think we were new to space?" "Because something terrible happened. A war so devastating that it nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. Humanity had become too powerful, too dangerous. We had weapons that could destroy entire star systems. When the war ended, our ancestors made a choice." "What choice?" "They chose to forget. They locked away all the advanced technology, hid the warships, and erased the memories of our own power. Then they went back to Earth to live simple, peaceful lives. They wanted their children to grow up without the burden of such terrible knowledge." Dr. Seo showed them images from the ancient records, massive human ships that could crack planets, space stations bigger than moons, weapons that used the power of black holes. "But they left safeguards," Dr. Seo continued. "Hidden systems that would wake up if humanity was ever threatened. They carved warnings on stone monuments across the galaxy, hoping that other species would learn from history and never force humanity to remember what we once were." Captain Lee Dong-woo thought about the old Vorthak elders' words during their first meeting. The warnings had always been there. The galaxy had simply forgotten to listen. "So when the Vorthak attacked our children," Lee Dong-woo said, "the safeguards activated, the sleeping systems woke up, and humanity remembered who we really are." In the rebuilt medical bay of New Harmony Station, Dr. Kim So-ra was checking on the children who had survived the New Busan attack. Most of them were doing well now, but they would carry the scars forever. Little Yoon Da-eun came running up to her, holding a drawing she had made. "Look, Dr. Kim, I drew our new home." The drawing showed the space station with children playing in the parks and schools. But around the edges of the picture, Yoon Da-eun had drawn human ships standing guard. "They will protect us," the little girl said. "The nice people in the big ships will make sure no one hurts us again." Kim So-ra smiled and hugged the child. "Yes, sweetheart, you will always be safe." In another part of the station, Park Ji-min was working with teams of engineers from across the galaxy. They were not building weapons now, but tools for exploration and peaceful development. The advanced technology that had awakened during the war was being turned to better purposes. Ji-min, called engineer Jong In-ho, the new planetary defense. Systems are online. Every human world now has protection that could stop any invasion force. Good, Park Ji-min replied. But I hope we never have to use them. The defense systems were not just weapons. They were also shields that could protect entire planets from natural disasters like asteroid impacts or solar flares. Humanity was using their rediscovered power to protect life, not destroy it. Choi Woo-jin was in the communication center, coordinating with human fleets across the galaxy. The thousands of warships that had awakened during the crisis were now being converted into exploration vessels and rescue ships. "Sir," he reported to Captain Lee Dong-woo, "we have ships arriving at 17 different systems where alien species requested help. They need assistance with medical emergencies, natural disasters, and food shortages." "Good," Lee Dong-woo said. "That is what our ships should be doing. Helping people, not fighting wars." The transformation was happening everywhere. The massive shipbuilding facilities that had produced the human war fleet were now making hospital ships, research vessels, and cargo haulers to carry food to hungry worlds. On Earth, Minister Lee Yu-jin was meeting with representatives from the Galactic Council. The Council had been terrified when humanity's true power was revealed, but now they were asking for help. "Minister Lee Yu-jin," said the Council representative, "there are 12 worlds in the Outer Rim that are suffering from a plague. Our medical technology cannot cure it. Will humanity help?" "Of course," Minister Lee Yu-jin replied. "We will send our best medical ships immediately." This was the new reality. Humanity had revealed their hidden strength, but they chose to use it for healing and protection rather than conquest. Back on New Harmony Station, the trial of Thekvar was about to begin. The former Vorthak commander was brought into the courtroom, in chains. He looked smaller now, older and broken. Captain Lee Dong-woo was asked to testify about what had happened at New Busan. When he finished describing the attack on the children, the courtroom was silent. "Thekvar of the former Vorthak Empire," the judge said, "you are found guilty of crimes against innocent civilians, including the murder of children. You are sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of release." As Thekvar was led away, he looked at Lee Dong-woo one last time. "I still do not understand," Thekvar said. "How did we not know? How did no one tell us what humans really were?" Lee Dong-woo met his eyes. "We told you ourselves. The warnings were on monuments across the galaxy. Your own elder tried to warn you, but you chose not to listen." What happens now? Will humans rule the galaxy with fear? "No," Lee Dong-woo said quietly. "We will do what we have always done. We will explore and learn and help others. But everyone will remember that our children are under our protection." After the trial, Lee Dong-woo walked through the memorial garden that had been built for the victims of New Busan. Each person who had died had a tree planted in their memory. The children's section was the largest. He stopped at one tree that had a small plaque reading, "Teacher Yoon Mi-jin, she died protecting her students." This was the teacher who had tried to save little Yoon Da-eun and her classmates. "Captain? Lee?" He turned to see Yoon Da-eun herself, now 8 years old and healthy. She was holding flowers. "I brought these for my teacher," she said. "I wanted to tell her that I am safe now." Together they placed the flowers at the base of the tree. "Captain Lee," Yoon Da-eun asked, "will the bad people ever come back?" Lee Dong-woo knelt down to her level. "No, sweetheart. They will never come back. And if anyone else ever tries to hurt children, we will stop them too." "Because humans protect each other?" "Because humans protect each other," he agreed. As they walked back toward the station, Yoon Da-eun skipped ahead, laughing and playing like children should. Above them, human ships moved silently through space, watching over every world where children lived and played. The galaxy had learned its lesson. The ancient warnings carved in stone were no longer mysterious riddles. They were simple facts that everyone understood. Never threaten a human child. Never attack the innocent. Never mistake kindness for weakness. These were the new laws of the galaxy, enforced not by fear, but by the knowledge that humanity would always rise to protect those who could not protect themselves. In the end, that was humanity's greatest strength. Not their hidden weapons or advanced technology, but their absolute refusal to let innocent people suffer while they had the power to help. The galaxy was at peace, and it would stay that way, because everyone now knew what happened to those who threatened a human